Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make part 2 of our modern bank. If you haven't made part 1 yet, you can find a link for that down below in the description, but without any further ado, let's get started. First of all, we are going to begin by grabbing this set of materials right here. However, later on, we are going to also grab these as well. Now that we have all of those, we are going to work our way inside of the bank, and we are going to begin building right next to this window here. So this is the left window as you would look at it from the outside. So extending back from this grey concrete, place 11 more grey concretes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're then going to extend across by 1, place an upside down smooth quartz stair, place a grey concrete, an upside down stair, grey concrete, and then extend up by 3, 1, 2, 3, then extend to the right by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then join down. Now, from the block that hit the ground, place an upside down smooth quartz stair to the right, then a grey concrete, an upside down stair, and then 2 grey concretes. Then we actually want to leave a gap of 3, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to want to place a grey concrete here, so leaving the gap of 3, and then we are just going to connect this to the wall, but we want to move 1 block backwards and then across like this, so we kind of want to make like an alcove. But we also want to take this second block and we want to extend it and join it to this wall here right next to the window. And not only that, we want to take the grey concrete here just opposite this window and we want to extend it forwards. And the idea is that we want to line it up with the opposite row of grey concrete here, and then we will join it to this wall. We also want to divide this area up here by placing a row of grey concrete directly in the center of this space. So you should have 4 blocks this side and 4 blocks that side. We also want to extend this row of grey concrete backwards to hit this wall as well. And this might seem quite complicated, but once we've kind of like done that first initial row, and then if you take a look here, it kind of all defines up rather nicely, and it will all start making sense when we start adding these walls. Well, as a matter of fact, what we can do is we can start adding details to these walls specifically. So come all the way back to where we very first started, right? And place an additional grey concrete on top of this grey concrete. Next to it, place a glass block, then leave a gap, and then place a grey concrete, glass block, leave a gap, then grey concrete, glass block, leave a gap, and then place 2 grey concretes like this, then extend grey concrete on top and in between the grey concretes that we have placed in between the upside down stairs, so we just want to have this. We also want to have smooth quartz stairs just inside of the 2 gaps that we have at the top, so they want to be parallel to the rows below. When it comes to the glass, we want to make it 2 rows high, and we want to extend the upper row of glass inwards across, just where we have the gap like this. We also want to place smooth quartz stairs on top of each glass block like so. I'm realizing it's a bit dark in here, but trust me, we're going to solve that problem very, very soon. And then we want to place grey concrete just on top of all of this, right? So the grey concrete now can extend all the way up to the ceiling, and this is where we are getting to this next part. So above where the tellers will be, because that is the entire purpose of this area, this is where bank tellers will be. Above this area, and above like where we have this vault, and by the way, we also want to extend the grey concretes up on this opposite side of this empty space here, also placing these smooth quartz stairs at the top, and then we can just connect grey concrete over and above. And what we're trying to make here is a solid shape that we can then carve into. So if we place all of this grey concrete and make 2 solid walls, and we turn this into a wall here as well. So we extend this like wall with an alcove upwards, like so, and just all the way up to the top like this. And what we will also want to do is connect this just across, so leaving a gap of 3 from the bottom, so 1, 2, 3, and then we want to just connect the grey concrete across. And here we go. So we finally kind of like hit this scenario that I'm talking about with like a solid room. See, now we can actually dig into the ceiling, and corresponding with the entrance area here in the ceiling, we can dig out all of these bricks, and we can replace these a little bit later on with some glass. And you can even cut strips into the area left and right. It might also be cool to kind of like correspond these with the glass block of the windows. So I kind of just want it to sit directly inside like this. I don't know why I didn't come all the way to the end here like this, and you see that's perfect. And now we can actually see inside here. I think it's hopefully going to start making a little bit more sense. In addition to what we've been working on, we also want to add a door in here. So this is made using a row of glass and then glass pane just here. We can even use the same glass. We can also use blue glass as well. So if you want to kind of stick with the theme, I think that's probably better. Maybe even a blend of regular glass and blue glass would look nice as well. But we want to have a row of solid glass, glass pane, and then an end rod just on the end like this, right? So far, this is what we have. This is where the bank tellers will be. These are ATMs. This is where the vault shall be, and then this kind of takes us into the back of the bank, and we'll sort that out in a second. But we also have to make a help desk, which stems from the opposite entrance here, and we place 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That lines up with the doorway there, and then we extend back a couple of rows like this. So we then extend grey concrete across the top here like this. And we can fill this upper section in using the grey concrete. This also smooths off the roof section. Looks a little bit better this way. And we can even just fill the back of this in using bookshelves, because that is, well, that is the entire point. You can make it look a little bit fancy with different things as well, but this is kind of like a reception desk. And speaking of which, we might as well make it because it's not too complicated. So a polished deep slate stairs, birch trapdoor, heavy weighted pressure plate, paintings, flower pot, azalea, and lanterns will do just nicely. We might not even need the lanterns, but we're going to have a couple of seats, so leave a gap of 1 from each end of the desk, place a weighted pressure plate in front of the stairs, place birch trapdoors in front of the weighted pressure plates, and then add paintings to those. And then either side of these we are going to place some azaleas in pots, and it just looks nice and fancy. We're also going to actually make the floor a little bit more intriguing by leaving a gap of 1 here from the desk, and we want to have 3 rows of red concrete powder leading from the entrance here just all the way backwards. It's essentially the width of the welcome desk like this, the reception, the help desk, whatever it is that you want to call it. Now from here, we also want to kind of like add a bit of detail to the teller areas. So we just need end rods and chains, and we just need to place end rods in between each window with a chain, and then an end rod like this, and then perhaps one more. So we don't necessarily need this many, but kind of just like to keep people separated in between the tellers. And we also have to make the ATMs. So the ATMs are really simple. We have to add a back block to each one of the windows like this, right? And then we're essentially going to do the same thing that we did outside. So we'll add an item frame with a diamond, and we need the rails, and a painting as well, of course. And we just add item frames to the tops of these, diamonds inside of them, paintings inside of the in front of the grey concrete back block, and rails on top of the outer part of it. So item frames at the top, diamonds in them, paintings for the actual screen. Of course, we get the same one. I kind of didn't want the same one. I think we've got 4 different ones, so that's perfect. And we have the rails just in front, so that's looking really good. It's up to you whether you want to add any additional lighting. So initially, like, my idea would be to have like hanging lanterns and stuff. But I don't know if I like them, and you can't really place them like centrally. Like, it's hard to find a pattern where they look particularly good. So like you could have some short ones on the end, and then drop the middle down a couple of rows, and kind of like we can do this in proportion. And I guess it's not a bad effect if we kind of like have these all the way just up here. They're not really in the way this way, and it's kind of like just a nice little additional feature if we look up, I suppose. It kind of does add a bit more interest because this is kind of like an open, airy area. We're going to fill the ceiling in as well, or the roof, I should say, in using glass. I'm noticing that that window there is ever so slightly shorter than this one. I'm wondering whether it could be a design choice to make it a bit shorter on each side, or whether that might look silly. We're about to find out when we enter the bank again. So let's take a look and see if that makes sense. It's a bit arbitrary to add it, but I think it does make things just a little bit more interesting, I think. I mean, it's such a small detail, it almost doesn't matter, but now that we've done that, I actually want to make the inside of the teller rooms, because we're going to seal up this part of the bank completely. So this is what we need for each particular teller room. We'll need grey concrete for a wall, light grey glazed terracotta, light grey concrete, heavy weighted pressure plate, paintings, and then, I mean, you don't really need too much else. So basically, for these teller rooms, we want to extend the grey concrete back in between them. We might even need sea lanterns as well to provide like a light source inside of these. We don't have them on us, but they are in the item list. So basically, just at the front of each one of these little teller rooms, I keep calling them, we want to have a heavy weighted pressure plate on here. We then want to have a little side desk in the form of a couple of light grey concrete. And we also want to have a computer, so that's going to be a painting with another heavy weighted pressure plate, actually. Do you know what might actually be good is if on the teller, you have like, on the actual like table in front, you have kind of like an item frame and emeralds and stuff, so we have something that kind of like just looks to kind of like further reiterate what this kind of like little area is. We'll need a seat in here. But then we kind of like seal up this entire space with terracotta as a backdrop and sea lanterns at the top. So basically from the outside, I mean, it's quite a nice little looking room, really. I mean, there's no way to leave. You could add doors there, but I probably wouldn't. I'd just leave it like that. I think that looks really good, and we want to do this a couple more times. So I'd recommend doing it with a different material. So instead of, say, an emerald, we'll use a diamond this time. But we still set up the desk in the same way. We still have the 1x1 painting for a computer. We have a seat. We back this using light grey glazed terracotta. Sea lanterns to the top. And there we go. That'll be another one done. And then here we say use an ingot instead of like the diamond and the emerald. And we still have the exact same layout. We'll just have to add a bit of grey concrete to the side of this, because this is ever so slightly different. So we'll have a 1x1 painting. I think that this is a duplicate, but it shouldn't really matter too much. I think I placed a pressure plate in there, and we just want to extend all of these up. Sea lanterns above, and there's only one real way to tell whether this has been done correctly. That's looking pretty good. We did miss the pressure plate for the computer in there, but I think that these look like really good rooms, and I like all of the different currency that we have above each window, or inside of each window, I should say. And yeah, that's looking really good. So honestly, we've actually made a huge amount of this kind of like the lobby of the bank. The only thing that we are kind of lacking at the moment is the vault door. So this is the vault, so this big giant empty space here. We place block of iron right in the middle of this wall, extend the center block outwards, place end rods around the edge of this. Might be a bit easier to just drop down to place this one. Stone button in the middle. There we go. Bank vault door. And yeah, that's actually this entire outside space made. Where is my helmet? The travesty. I've been doing this entire thing with a cold head. That's better. Moving on into this hallway then, what we first of all have to do is just raise up these walls. So where we have all of the grey concrete, these can pretty much just extend all the way to the ceiling. Except we are going to drop the walls in one particular place. So now that we've kind of like raised up this main wall here, we are going to extend up these office walls. And these only have to be so high. So these two rooms in particular are just two little offices. And these are kind of like just regular bank workers that can like help you do stuff and what have you. You know what bank workers do. This particular room here is going to be like the bank manager. So that's why we have a larger office. And pretty much if we just leave a gap of 1 above this window here, we can kind of like create a shorter ceiling so that we don't have to raise up all of these walls. So inside the manager's office, we want to have kind of like the same thing. We'll just have the ceiling extend over. You could even use a different material inside of here if you wanted to. So like, say, instead of just grey concrete, we could have iron, or we could have the quartz bricks or something instead. Iron's kind of like a nice all-rounder material, I think, so we'll just have that here. And then, yeah, I guess we can kind of like have the same thing inside each one of the offices as well. And once we've done that, we can kind of conceal the rest of this area up here, just raise up all of this wall. I think it just makes it a bit more interesting, basically, is the reason that we're doing this. So, like, we'll just extend up around these rooms. So, one part of the ceiling will be really, really high. So, like this part, this little hallway, and then the rest is just a little bit different. And once again, the reason to do this is just a bit more interesting. And we can dig out the center of the actual roof itself here. And we can just add some more glass. So this creates some natural light for us. We can, of course, add lanterns and stuff like that, but, you know, I'm just going to leave it as is for the moment. So each one of these two offices, so the first one, the door is located right here at the end of this hall, right? And then if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 5? Yes, this 5th block here, this is where the other office will be. See, the wall's right next to it, so... inside each one of these offices, it's really, really simple, and I'm even thinking about dropping the ceiling down an additional row, but a couple of rows of bookshelves just at the top of the back part here. I think maybe, we will leave it nice and high maybe, but there wants to be a desk right in the middle, so there's going to be 2 light grey concrete extending from the wall here. We'll have a stair either side, so we have 2 seats for the worker and for the person that's seeing said worker. We'll place the pressure plate on the table, birch trapdoor, painting inside of it, and then we can decorate the desk how we see fit. So we can have, like, I don't know, an item frame with like gold ingots in there. We can have like paintings on this back wall here if we so choose, maybe just 1. I'm thinking, yeah, something like that would be just nice. And yeah, I think that that's actually just fine. There's no need to really crown this room with anything else. You could always add like a lamp if you did so choose, kind of like in the corner. You could even set it on a table. Could even use bookshelves for the table bottom as well. And then that way it stops you exploring the room. But then I mean, it's really, really cramped in here. Whereas maybe if we didn't set it on a table, it doesn't seem as cramped. But yeah, that's how each little office looks. So we'll do the same over here. We'll add a little lamp in the corner just because I kind of like that. 1 row of bookshelves across the top here. Light grey concrete kind of cutting the area in half with seats either side. Then a heavy weighted pressure plate on this table, birch trapdoor flipped upwards, painting inside of that, and then once again you can kind of like just put whatever you want on these tables. I like the idea of going colourful with the emeralds, the diamonds and such. And oh, last but not least, of course, we can add the painting. That's perfect. We've got the only other 1x2 that exists, and there we go. Those are the 2 little officers. If you like, you can add like plants outside of these, so like leave a gap of 1 between the door, brown terracotta, flowering azalea leaf, gap, brown glazed terracotta, flowering azalea leaves, and then that just looks really good. We also want to actually have the bank vault doors here as well. I believe if we leave a gap of 1, 2, 3, and then we have a double row dug into this wall here, then that will be how we get in and out of the vault itself, but we will tackle that in just a moment. We'll sort that out by itself, as we want to come all the way over to here, and we will actually work on like this little outer area and the bank manager's office. So outside of the office, we have a little waiting area. So this includes an oak stair here in this corner, brown glazed terracotta next to it, flowering azalea leaf next to that, oak stair, oak sign on the end, and then just opposite this, a little water cooler. So this is a block of iron, tripwire hook in front, light blue glass on top. Then we just need a heavy weighted pressure plate on top of that, white concrete next to it with a flower pot on top of that. And then right next to this, we are going to have a door. So this is a bit different. So we have a dark oak door instead of just like a regular oak door to try and differentiate a little bit. So inside of here, we need some different materials once again. So in this room, we will stack a bunch of bookshelves just at the back here, because I feel as though the manager would have loads of documents and books and all sorts of stuff. Then we want to leave a gap of 1 between the 3 middle blocks and place light grey concrete in front of the 3 centre blocks, leaving a gap of 1. Oak stairs in the middle of this. And then on the opposite side of the table, we'll leave a gap of 1 and we'll have 2 chairs, one either side. We'll have a couple of floor lamps in each one of these corners, so that's 2 end rods on top of each other, with grey glazed terracotta on top of those. Plants on the desk, so flower pots with different saplings in them, will look really good, I think. And then kind of going to the good old tried and true laptop, so heavy weighted pressure plate, birch trapdoor in front, and then of course a painting on here. And I would recommend once again just having maybe this time we can have a collage of paintings. Maybe. Okay, well, we'll leave it like that, why not? So, so we'll have a little collage of paintings, just one on top of each other. It actually looks good despite the fact that it's the same one. And now that we've done that, we can actually head into the bank vault itself. So inside of the vault, the first thing that we are going to do is create a frame around the door. So we're going to place a couple of rows of grey concrete just around this iron here. So we want it to kind of just sit one row inside of a frame of grey concrete like this, right? And then we are going to build up the walls around this using grey concrete. So we want to basically have 3 rows of grey concrete that kind of like extends from the actual iron of the door. And the grey concrete wants to extend all the way over to the end here where we have this row of grey, and then we can extend it across, and this is kind of going to be like the size of the room. So actually probably a little bit taller than this. We are going to stuff shulker boxes on these walls. So it's actually going to be a mix of light grey and grey shulker boxes to look like lock boxes. And these are going to be plastered all over the wall, or at least most of, actually, yeah, pretty much every single wall except for the entrance wall. And we're going to have these extend all the way over. So, like, do we want to make it so that we have like this? Yeah, I think that we'll do it this way. So we'll have it just in a checkered pattern extending all the way over. I realise it is quite dark, by the way, but there's actually a little trick that we can use to kind of circumvent this. So in the corners, we won't actually be able to see the lock boxes, so you can stick some sea lanterns, and that will keep things nice and bright. So we just want to, once again, just plaster pretty much every wall except the entrance wall in shulker boxes, and it'll just look really, I don't know, I think it looks really cool. Like, obviously, like in a bank, you would have like a bunch of lockboxes and stuff, and each one of these would obviously have people's belongings, money, whatever might be kept in here, or you could just imagine that there's just a bunch of cash in every single one of these. So, you know, however you want to think about it. The ceiling is going to be, we'll probably have it a couple of rows higher, and we might even make the ceiling out of, shall we just use bricks, the quartz bricks actually, for the ceiling, and it can sit, I want there to be a distinction between the, or do we want to build it into the vault? Guys, I'm kind of like, I don't know whether I want there to be like a bit of a height difference between the actual ceiling and the bank vault, or whether it makes sense that the bank vault would like be built into the ceiling, like it just seems a bit more robust. It's really not that big of a deal, but I don't know. I don't know which one I would prefer. You've got to imagine that these rooms would probably be like as small and as secure as possible. Like the bigger they are, the more stuff that they've got in them, the more there is to worry about. But I don't know, that kind of just like feels nice. I like that. And like lining up with where we have the iron for the bank vault, right? So take this mill iron, follow it up to the ceiling, leave a gap of 1, and then we're going to dig 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And we kind of want to have kind of like 1 gap away from the shulkers on this side, 1 gap away from the door on this side. We'll have just the 1 strip of light, just like this. We have to make the vault door on the inside, so it's equivalent to the one on the outside. So a block of iron in the middle, end rods all the way around the block of iron like this, and a stone button in the middle. And if we just drop down, we can place an end rod like this, so that's perfect. And then last but not least, in here we actually want to make a table. So the table is really, really simple. We're actually missing the seats, but it's the same polished deep slate that we've been using all along. So the table, it kind of like sits lengthways like this, and we want to have in the middle of this room kind of like 2 smooth quartz blocks, kind of like just it's 2 blocks away from the iron, 2 blocks away from the shulker, and then upside down smooth quartz stairs either side like this. And well, I mean, that's kind of all there is to it. And then we'll have just a bunch of stairs like this surrounding it, so a set either side. Item frames kind of like plastered on here, and then just a bunch of different like emeralds and diamonds and stuff. And this is what it would look like. But obviously, like if you wanted to, no, my helmet. Obviously, if you wanted to make it look a little bit fancier, then you could of course grab like the iron. The iron? No. You can grab like gold, and you can grab like diamonds, and you know, you can have like emeralds all stuffed into the corner if you like, and you can kind of like have them kind of like if you're looking for more like something that's a little bit more like, I don't know, cartoony, which I like as well. Then obviously you can make something that's a little bit more akin to this. And you can have like this place teeming with like ingots and diamonds and like literal blocks of stuff like stacked in the corners. I mean, that's a bit more fun, isn't it? But obviously the more realistic version is that it wouldn't look like that. It'd be like the first iteration with just a table and a bunch of lock boxes and stuff. But coming outside, but first of all, we've gotten rid of all of our stuff that we need. Okay, so we need to have doors. Going to have stone buttons either side of the doorway here on the inside. Put iron doors on the outside. Buttons either side. Item frames above. Block of redstone above that. And there we go. We have the actual bank vault. And, well, that's it, actually. And that is this part of the tutorial complete. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please do remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check the description below for any parts of this tutorial that you may not have made yet. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.